Hello, I'm Prika Amaral from Nervosa, the singer and guitarist, and you are watching John the Ninja.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the dojo. And you know it's the John the Ninja Studios. The mademoiselle I have here is a two-time dojo guest. And when I tell you, San Paulo, stand up. Mademoiselle is not only the Lemmy Kilmister of thrash metal, she's the queen of thrash metal. But as she said, she was a girl with a dream, and that dream was to play rock and roll. Whether it was listening to Zeppelin when she was younger, playing her dad's guitar that was at the house. Man, we're gonna go and jump to the Metallicas, the Exoduses, all these great bands, including Sepultura, but her real story lies in the fact that her band has survived. They're celebrating 15 years. Nervosa, translated from Portuguese to an angry woman, but they have a hashtag that says Nervosa never dies, and that has been true. Prika Amaral has been the forefront of this band. She's the original member that has been bringing metal to the masses. She has literally sacrificed everything to make this band work, and it has paid off exponentially. We're here to talk about their new album, Slave Machine, which released in April, which has been such a monumental album that has dropped. And we're going to talk about some crazy stories. We're going to talk about some serious stories, but let's hop into it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great distinct pleasure I welcome Prika Amaral. Mademoiselle, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. Thank you for the introduction. It's amazing.
Mira, you've done so much, and last time we really dived into the history and all the things that you've done. But before we get to basically how great the band is doing now, I wanted to say Happy International Women's Day. I know you got to celebrate. How was your day this over the past weekend?
I think like Women's Day, it's a day to reflect a lot about everything that is going on, like everything that we conquer, everything that we as a society we have to improve. And that was something that I was thinking now a lot. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and many things are against women. There's a lot of murder happening against women because of toxic relationships and the sensation that you want someone, and being very struggle in many ways. I know, like in the past, things were way worse. We still have to fight. Be a woman, it's to deal like you have constantly to fight. But yeah, we are ready. That's why we have an all-female band. We are here to show our space that woman can do everything.
And you've been very vocal about that in the past. That's why you wanted to keep the band all females because guys are always getting opportunities. You lost out on a band spot a long time ago because they said, "Oh, you're great, but you're not a guy." And you're like, "What does that have to do with talent?" One story we didn't get to talk about the last time we were having a conversation, it was darn near 4 years ago when Jailbreak released, was you actually had a gun put in your face. You actually got robbed of your motorcycle, and that seems like such a pivotal moment to me in the story of Nervosa with all the things that you gave up, not only the banking job and having your degree and making good money, but I remember hearing the story and just how mad you were in the moment when he took your bike after he robbed the bank and you smashed your helmet. I wanted to know, was that also a defining moment? Was that the defining moment where you said, "No, I'm going to go after all my dreams"?
No, actually, what defined it for me to follow my dreams was always what my soul want. Like first of all, and second, it's like the things that start to happen really good for Nervosa since the beginning. And in that moment was the moment that I was closing my graduation to leave from music. It was exactly the same day. I just got my documents and I was leaving to go home. And on the way, this guy just stopped me to steal my motorcycle. And I feel like so empowered, like I felt like horribly. And I was feeling so angry because it took me years to be able to buy a motorcycle, finally buy a motorcycle for someone to take it from you in less than a minute. That was giving the sensation of injustice, like so big. That's why I exploded my helmet on the floor, like, fuck it, you know? But yeah, well, I could get back, of course, after, and I was very lucky, by the way. But what defined me, like, I really want to live this dream, like as my full job. It was my naturally passion since I'm born, actually, for music.
I do love how the real change came when you started doing the vocals. Everyone was always telling you you need to sing, and then when you finally did, and you become really comfortable in singing now. And I wanted to know at this point, since you realistically, when you first started singing, then you only had 2 months really to get it right. You did backing vocals, but now it's like, wow, I really got to step up. And within those 2 months, you really figured out how the body works. Do you feel that maybe you're actually truly just the singer that loves guitar, or is guitar still that main instrument you speak musically through, and singing just happens to be the talent you happen to be better at?
Now, after 3 years being the singer of this band, I can understand many things, and I can truly say, like, guitar was the instrument that I choose 27 years ago, to express my feelings and to make the thing that I most love in life. But actually, I discovered, like, I always was a singer, but I always was scared about it. Like, reflecting about everything. This was already something that was inside of me, and I was talking with my mom, and my mom said, like, it makes a lot of sense you be the singer, because when you were very young, like 3 years old, I don't have this memory. It was something that my mom was telling me. Like, your favorite toy was a microphone. I think this was always on you. And I say, like, yeah, makes sense. But it was something like I was listening so many things around me that was put me in an insecure level, that I was feeling like it's safer to be guitarist. To be singer, you have to really put your face there, and if you go untuned, you are more judged and all of these things. So I was not interested in that, because I want to make music no matter what. But now, yes, makes a lot of sense. I was like born to be a singer, actually, and I was extremely scared when this moment really was forcing me to be the singer, basically, the singer. And but once I have a mission, I will truly dive in, and I say, okay, let's do it. I will do it. I will find my way, and I will do it. And when I start to really play and sing, it came so naturally that I freak out and say, what's going on? Because everything was about fear and insecure. It was not the real thing. It was not the truth. And then I say, okay, this is reality. I can do it, and it's easy. It was something really crazy.
You paint your mic red. That mic is red. Was that toy red? Did she tell you what that color of the toy was?
No, I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe white or red can be, but no other color for sure.
But it makes sense because your guitars are white, at least the Kramer, one of the Kramers. I don't know if you were able to customize it yet, but I know one of them
Yeah.
still has the white V on it. And then, of course, you do
Yes.
that with the microphone. So, Mademoiselle, I did have to ask, you have an Italian citizenship?
Yes. You're right.
So how did that come about? Because I know you went from São Paulo to Italy, and now you're currently residing in Greece, and it was all in movement to make the band a little bit more of a cohesive unit to have everyone together. But I was so curious how you had an Italian citizenship.
Yeah, like citizenship in Italy, it's about blood, or if you born there, actually, or if you live there for such a long time. In my case, it's about blood, because my mom's family is from Italy, and that's why I had the right to apply for a citizenship. And a bit before the pandemic starts, like in 2019, I traveled to Italy, and I moved to Italy to apply for my citizenship there. And then I had the citizen, and after the pandemic, I decided to move, because I love Italy. I love Europe, like how peace I can have, no violence, and things that I have to struggle in Brazil. Example, I love Brazil. I miss Brazil so bad. but the violence there is something like it's a really big thing. And for me, it's like the peace, the quality of life. It's crazy. But since we have the lineup change, I was not feeling uh, meaning to stay in Italy if many members of my band was in Greece. So I say like I think it's better for me to move to Greece because I also love Greece a lot. There are a lot of things in common, even though like we are totally different in languages and cultures. In life thoughts, we have a lot of in common, and I love to live here. And now it's 3 years actually.
But I do have to stress just how great it is to see how the band has been so successful. You guys not only toured as the headliner in the States, but you did Europe and you did Asia. And one story that I keep on going back to is when you were talking to Gabriella. For some reason, you just had it in you to say, keep fighting, keep going. And in the context of everyone's story, I'm like, yeah, that was a little random out of nowhere. And I wanted to get your story because at this point in the band, you are the most senior member, but you're also the most tenured as far as knowing what to do. Everybody goes to you. So I wanted to know, one, what really brought that about for you to tell her that? And then two, how does it feel that now you're the leader? It just seems like the whole entire band depended on you just stepping up and saying, I'm in charge.
First of all, like every time that I see a talent and truly love musician, like the person that it's really are into music, and I see like the soul in somehow it's shining for music. I always like to support. Example, every time that I see woman being a musician in the social medias, I always try to follow, to give a like, to comment, because it's a way to support them. And I know these actions are important for them because I love when I have people that I admired a lot, like supporting me. So I always try to do that with the others. And when I see such a young people that I feel that it's lost in somehow like what I should do, because when you became 18 you pass through some kind of kid to adult, and then many times you don't know what to do with your life. You want to be such a many things. I would be happy to be this or that or that or that. You have so much options, and then if I really feel that the person knows like the call, I say like just keep on doing, because everything is possible if you really want. So that's something important for me. And inside of the band, uh, everybody respect my experience, and but at the same time, I respect a lot the girls about what they want as well. So I always, in important decisions, I always try to include them as maximum as possible, and I always listen to them. If I don't agree, I just bring my vision, and they always can understand that, because apart from the professional things, we have a friendship, and we really truly admire each other, not only as a musician but as a person. So I think when you have a flexibility and give the importance of each other, you always have success.
What is, to you, considered the most difficult decision you had to make on behalf of the band? I know there's a lot of situations where you had to tell people like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but you might just not be right for Nervosa, or we might not be right for you." But there's always the logistics, like when you guys were in Brazil, how much money it cost to get overseas. It was just an astronomical amount of money. Was there a particular moment, decision that was actually a tough decision that you had to make on behalf of the band that looking back now, you were like, thank God I made that decision. But before the payoff, you were kind of like, I don't know if I did the right thing.
I think the hardest part of the hard decision is always the easiest part for me, because actually for me, above of all of us, it's I'm here to fight for Nervosa. I know the importance of my band, like I know what means for women in metal, to have this band keeping going. Being a Latin person that came from a very far country and poor country in the world, and to conquer my space, I know that's my mission to fight for Nervosa. So I always know the answer very easy, but the hardest part is to deal with the consequences of a fight for the right thing. So I know, like, every time that I choose for Nervosa, the consequence it's to see the people that it's not ready to fight the same way that I am ready to fight, which is fine. I respect, I understand, but I have to fight for Nervosa. That's why we have so much lineups changed. But it's important to say, like, I have my all respect for all the members of this band, because they really put everything that they could for this band. The result was something that we didn't want. Both parts. It was not easy to them to leave. But, in the end, I left so many things. I mean, everything in my life to leave from this band. And I will not harm the job of the others that came before, because they also put in and sacrificed a lot. So I will not make this band for nothing. So if you are ready to understand and really truly give 100% and keeping doing this, because sometimes the people are ready to do it and give for a certain kind of period, and then they change in their mind because of many reasons around it in their own life. It's very complex, but in the end it's like, it's good for Nervosa or not. That's the question. We can understand each other and respect each other, but I'm here to fight for Nervosa.
But you also are extremely fair to everybody who's willing to have that same fight as well. You take immense care of everybody in the band, even when things pop up. When one of the members had a baby, it's like, okay, we'll work with you, girl. But that's the mutual respect. That's the knowing that this is what's right for the band. Mademoiselle, we have to hit the new album, Slave Machine. I'm just going to quote some of the lyrics real quick. Blind and controlled, we keep losing our souls, selling our dreams, turning into a piece of a slave machine. I was sitting there, I was like, wow, that feels like I was working at the bank with you. That hurt my feelings. I understand. I wanted to know what was one of the songs off the album, because I just quoted Slave Machine. What was one of those songs on the album that really was difficult for you as far as pushing yourself? It was a fun challenge, but maybe it was the vocal technique that you had to try and do a little bit more, or maybe it was just this guitar. Like sometimes the easy guitar riffs are the ones we can't do. It doesn't make sense. What was a song off the album that was a fun challenge?
I can say two songs actually. Like guitar talking, more about singing and play. I would say Slave Machine is the hardest one because it's extremely fast, like 250 BPM. And apart from that, I have to make some kind of lead guitars and sing, and one don't fit to the other. It's been huge challenge for me to do both. I managed, but it took me a lot of time to do it. And vocal talking, I would say like Impending Doom was the most challenged song, because the chorus has like a very high vocals in a technique that is new for me. But it's been one of my favorite parts, because the most challenged parts is where you most grow. And this is important for me to keeping me excited as a musician.
What about Ghost Notes? That's the new single recently dropped. And Martin Faria, I hope I said his name right, the producer,
Yeah, yeah.
was going on and praising not only your vocals, but the little harmonies you guys threw in there as Helena was playing that melodic solo. And he really was all about it. What was your impressions when you first started forming Ghost Notes? How did you feel about the song when you first created it and wrote it?
This song is very groovy, and I remember to record, and I was like really grooving, in a while that I was singing. And it's a song that is very heavy, and you feel each step in there, like, very strong. And that was giving me the vibe to deliver the vocals as well. And it was the easiest song to sing at all. And all the vocal lines and everything was came very easy. And it's one of the most fun songs to play. We did some rehearsals and I could feel, and I say like, yes, this song's gonna work a lot in live shows, and we are very excited for that. And also it's a song that has a huge meaning behind, huge meaning behind. And I'm basically talking about depression. That it's became very common nowadays. People that it's getting and diving into this kind of feelings, mainly for the new generations, the kids and teenagers that's living from social medias. They are comparing themselves, and I see kids of 16 years old. Because for me, it's still kids, like putting some creams on the face to not have wrinkles or whatever. Like, come on, your skin still not start to get old. Stop with this. And, like I have to be perfect. I have to talk perfect. And they are shy. And then, all of those things, it sucks, man. It sucks. And I see this new generation suffering more with these thoughts. Like anxiety is something common nowadays for all of this new generation. There is something really wrong. So this thing inspired me to write this song. And Ghost Notes, it talks about like you lose love from life, and that's very heavy.
One thing I loved is you guys decided to fade out on that. Whose call was that? Because that I did, we're metal. We like that. We're done. But the fade out was like, oh, that's a nice little sprinkle.
I think I don't remember who had this idea exactly, but I remember what makes sense because the song talks about this depression, and depression doesn't come from one day to another. It came like as a fade in and fade out. So it made a lot of sense for the song and the feeling, like it's slowly going away, because also when depression is gone, doesn't go away like from one day to another. You have to work very hard for that. And actually it's something that you have to work constantly. So it's also a fade out, so it makes sense with all the meaning of the song.
I love that. Mademoiselle, last time you were here, I asked you the best piece of advice you ever gotten, and you said it was basically being told, go be the drum. I'm sorry, go be the singer. Your drummer told you to sing, and that was the best advice. Wanted to know what's the worst advice you ever received, and you were wise enough to say, no, we're not doing that. And now you can kind of throw it back like, hey, look what I accomplished.
The worst device was not exactly like a device, but actually I heard a lot like your technique in vocals when I was doing back vocals, it harmed the throat. If I sing like you, I'm gonna harm my vocal cords. That was the worst thing, because that's, I think, was the point where I gave up to sing or be a singer. That was like many years ago, but many years ago. And actually I got this as a truth, and I was caring. That's why I never wanted to be a singer of Nervosa. And that was the worst thing actually, because it was something like I escape, you know, and I should not, maybe, I don't know, but it was something that I avoid because of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress how amazing every time she's on the show. It's always a great interview. Nervosa, new album out now, Slave Machine. Go check out their single Ghost Notes and go buy the album. You can go find Nervosa. They not only have their own website of the same name, but they also have Nervosa Thrash on Instagram. Facebook is just Nervosa. Don't get it confused. And also, you can find Prika. Prika, it's going to be with an A. I know it sounds like morale, but you need a A and then morale on Instagram. Mademoiselle, thank you so much for your time. It always truly is a blessing. I'm just enamored with your story. You're a true fighter for women.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here talking with you, promoting the new album, and going very deeply with the meanings. I appreciate a lot everything that you said, and I hope to see you on the road in some shows around there.
You bet it, mademoiselle. And everybody else, be smart, be mindful, rock on, ninja out.
Hello, everybody. I'm Prika, the singer and guitarist of Nervosa. Our new album, Slave Machine, it's out now. So you are watching John the Ninja.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.